Hello and welcome back to a brand new video where today I have some very exciting information, especially if you're an Xbox One owner, because today is the day that Phil Spencer announced that there could be potentially some brand new external hardware where we'll be able to purchase to increase the performance of our Xbox One. That is right, guys, you've heard it here, that soon we'll be able to have the option to purchase new external hardware to increase the performance of our Xbox One, which is something which I've ever thought. Like when I was younger, I was like, when I walk into a game store, I can buy hard drives, but why can't I buy new processors, or why can't I buy external GPUs? Because companies out there do sell external GPUs because, some people like plug it in via USB. Obviously, it's not the most practical way to obviously have a new GPU, but having an external GPU which gives you more performance is something which could happen with Xbox, especially as Microsoft have a big share in AMD, and obviously AMD are the guys who create the graphics card for the Xbox One. So if things work well together, then we could be expecting some external hardware coming to the Xbox One. Now I have some more information. I have some information regarding Phil Spencer. Phil Spencer spoke about in the Xbox One keynote. He spoke about a few things, and stay tuned for the video to the very end. Got some very good information. So if you do enjoy today's video, then be sure to give this video a massive thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and also comment down below your thoughts about this, because it's something pretty interesting. It's something for the future, and something which I cannot wait for. So it should be pretty good. Right, okay, so Phil Spencer was speaking at the Xbox Keynote earlier this month, and he said that Xbox One could soon see a future upgrade which is upgradable. Like, there'll be a future update to the console which will accept external hardware. Now, what the whole point of this is rather than replacing it with a brand new console, every cycle, you've obviously had the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One, and the way you get a new console, or the way you get better performance, is simply by buying the next console of the generation. Whereas Phil Spencer, is considering, why do we need to do this? Why can't we just, add some new hardware, just like the PC guys use? Because, when you have a PC, you normally buy a PC, and if you're like a gamer PC, you normally, or a gaming PC player, most of the time you get a custom-built PC, and in the future you can just go, oh hey, I need a new graphics card to play better games, and you simply take out your old GPU, put a new GPU in, or you want to change a processor or your RAM or whatever. It's very upgradable and it's very easy. But with a console, it's so compact. It's that, like, you buy the Xbox One, and in 5 to 6 years time you have to get the next generation console where PC players can upgrade whenever they want, and that's what something Phil Spencer would like to see and maybe happen in the near future. So, since the launch of Windows 10 and Xbox One working together, a brief recap to anyone who hasn't been watching my videos, and if you want to learn a quick little fun fact of the day, is if you're a Windows 10 user and you have Xbox Live, you can play with the guys on Xbox One, which is pretty cool. So, it helps generate more people playing the game, and it allows you to play Xbox One games on your Windows 10 PC, and it sort of helps out the PC players as well, because you have more players to play, and if your friend has an Xbox One and you have a PC, then you have the ability to play with one another, which is pretty cool. So the one thing Phil Spencer is basically curious about is Phil Spencer believes that gamers might prefer a PC over an Xbox, because you can upgrade and choose your own graphics card, FPS rates, and all that kind of stuff. Whereas with an Xbox, you're sort of limited to what the developer can actually produce on the Xbox One hardware. Whereas, you sort of said as well, if I can play Xbox One games on my PC, then why don't I just buy a PC which can do, I can work on my PC, I can play other PC games, and I can play Xbox One games, whereas an Xbox One just sits there and I just play on it until the next one comes out, until, basically like a cycle where he's slightly, wanting to know, and, potentially could happen is people might stop buying the Xbox One, or stop buying the Xbox, franchise, and simply just go with a PC, because if they can play Xbox One games or Xbox games on their PC, then what's the purpose of buying an Xbox One console or a future Xbox console device? So that's something pretty interesting. So something from the keynote, I'm about to quote from what he said. So he said consoles lock the hardware and the software platforms together at the beginning of the generation. Then you ride the generation out for 7 or so years, while the ecosystems like iPhones, tablets, etc. are getting better and faster and stronger, and then you have to wait for the next big function. So what he's talking about is when the Xbox 360 came out, you waited like 7 years or so, and in that time you had like iPhones, tablets, which were technically more powerful than the 360, and you then wait for the Xbox One, and then you're like, well, my phone is just as powerful. And obviously new phones come out every year, and consoles like PlayStation, Xbox take around about 6 or 7 years for their cycle, whereas PCs you can just upgrade whenever a new hardware is out. So it's something which Phil Spencer's quite interested in. Phil Spencer said that Xbox owners could be offered optional hardware upgrades in the future to keep up the consoles with the PCs. Now, when he says that the best word in this sentence is optional, like you don't have to, it's just only if you want a better performance from your console. His main quote from the keynote is, "I believe we will see more hardware innovation in the console space than we've ever seen." Now, the one reason he's saying is that instead of having new consoles every generation, we just have one console and we just keep upgrading that console, which is very much like a PC, but it's just like a console. So, you know, what do you guys think? It's very interesting to see what can actually happen. Would you like to have external hardware, like coming out, like plugging a USB, plugging in like another GPU or some extra RAM, or like would you either take out the console and then like put in? I know, for example, like on the PS4, you can have external hardware, external hard drives, where you can just take one out and upgrade it yourself. So maybe it might not happen this generation. I think Phil Spencer, you know, is thinking or something of a good idea, but might be in the next generation where consoles are pretty much, you know, if you have a screwdriver and you know yourself around a motherboard, then you'll be able to upgrade that console. It's very much like the Steam box. You know, Steam have a box which is upgradable, so I think that is the future for gaming, and it's something which I'm very excited about. But the other thing as well is people who buy a console don't have to worry about blue screens or making sure they have the best GPU to play games, because developers make sure that the game is playable on their console. Whereas that's the difference, because a console is, you know, can be quite cheap, but on a PC, a graphics card can be more expensive than a console, which plays the game perfectly fine. So it's a bit of a 50-50, but depending how cheap it is, you know. But anyway, guys, thank you guys for watching. Be sure to give it a massive thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and also comment down below your thoughts and suggestions regarding external hardware for the Xbox One. But anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Adios, chaps.